Bye.
How are you, sir?
Fucking hungover to the dick as per usual. So,
So is this Easter related? I don't know when this will be out, but we're recording on Easter Tuesday, whatever that is.
I no, I did a thing. Podcast with the guy last night. He does a drinking podcast.
Oh, shit. I wonder why
So
I can. Why do you get in contact with you?
I have no idea. Uh, but he just sent me like a couple of free bottles of stuff. So I got tore into this bottle like fucking fancy whiskey last night. Yeah. And
Jeez.
one of those days, like I woke up, thought, fucking hell, drinking whiskey with just ice stops you getting hungover.
Yeah.
And then I forgot I'm 34, so by about 3 o'clock, I was like, "Oh, I'm shitting myself."
That's mad. I always thought about doing that because in theory, having a drink, because you know it's like when you're drinking, it's a laugh, and you're like, we should be filming this or we should be recording this. This is so
Aye,
funny. But in practice, it doesn't always work that way.
100%. We tried to do like a drunk podcast, like maybe this time last year. It was me, McCann, and Robbie McShane.
I
And
think I might have listened. I think I might have listened to that.
oh no, we didn't even put it out.
Or, no, or
Like,
maybe I just seen something. It might have been McCann posting something about a drunk podcast.
yeah, we ended up like I don't even know how long we talked for because we're all just free pouring booze.
Right.
And then we had a point where we're like, we can't show anybody this. Like, like
I think he did one by himself. Maybe it was. You know,
he
there was
might have done,
definitely.
yeah. I know in our there was a good 10 minutes where we all like everybody was just going for a piss or a smoke, and it was like,
Because that's what I was thinking. Because whenever I was watching your podcast, the Deckchair and Yumz, what was it, 2-3 weeks ago when you done the birthday one,
yeah,
and these are both pretty steaming. But I was pure entertainment. But I was thinking towards the end, it's like, how have they gone that long without going for a piss?
yeah. I think that was just like, did I end up going for a piss at one point during that one?
I think it was just at the end.
Yeah, we ended up like those agony hours are so insane, especially like because the first one we did,
Mm.
I felt like I was getting the night out for the first time in ages, so I was like,
Yeah.
fucking, let's get stuck in.
I-
And then by the time I got to the birthday one, it was fucking carnage, and it's like because you're trying to like ad lib, it's almost like doing a gig. You're
yeah.
like your adrenaline's pretty high.
It's like crowd work.
Yeah, so when you're drinking during that, you just end
Yeah.
up like when you watch it, it's like 40 minutes in, the two of us are just fucking like you shouldn't be able to get that steaming that quick, but it
Yeah.
happens like so. We took 2 weeks off. We did it again on Friday. I'm terrified.
Oh, you're doing it on Friday because I wasn't sure. I
Yeah,
wasn't sure. I know you had 2 weeks off, but I think it's not. I don't think it's something you could ever sustain doing weekly.
that was the thing. It kind of got weird. We're like the people that were ringing in, so we're shutting the chat room aspect of it down.
Yeah.
Because you basically had people daring each other to phone in and like try and prank phone call us. We were like, we're the ones,
Yeah.
like we're the like users shy correct. That's why you're watching this. So don't
Yeah.
fucking
You're
like,
not the entertainment here.
yeah, exactly. Get your own fucking podcast. So yeah, we're doing. I think we're going to do it on Friday, but try and theme it somehow,
Yeah.
just to stop the weirdos.
I make it a wee bit. Yeah, no, because that's it. It's one of those things where when you give that much sort of like that much control to people,
Yeah,
that's there's a reason why whenever you're on stage, you've got a microphone and most of the audience is quiet.
yeah. Because Connor got the real shit put up because at one point he read one of the chat room messages and someone was like, "We can make these two bastards do anything," and we're both like, "That's not what this is for." Like,
That's a bit scary. Like,
yeah, it turned into like some sort of weird like Black Mirror version of Jackass, and I was like, "Man, we need to fucking rethink this whole thing." Like,
that's mad. But just talking about Deckchair and Yumz, for anyone who doesn't listen, how would you describe it?
um, it's kind of weird. It's kind of evolved into like we've got two different podcasts now. So like the Deck Chair and Yums one, which is it's just two comedians chatting.
Yeah.
And then basically what happened was at the start of lockdown, Connor and I both were like, I don't like this. This feels a wee bit fucking strange.
Yeah.
So the other podcast, which is now called Just Rabbit On, is kind of like we went down like a lot of rabbit holes about a lot of the conspiracy theories to the point where I think about 3 months in, I was like, man, I'm not reading any more of this. Like from now on, you do the homework.
Yeah.
Tell me what you've read, and I'll just go fucking right.
That's
like
that's crazy. Yeah.
yeah, it got too like it just got too much.
I didn't follow from the start. I only came into the Patreon one maybe like a month or so ago. I think I was actually talking. It was the night of the Hatfield gig. Remember, it was one of the first ones. I was talking to Connor, and I was like, I haven't got onto the Patreon yet, and he was like, "Don't." He's like,
yeah, even like we get all these people like messages, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm just catching up with everything from last year. We're both like, go outside and look at a tree. Like,
Yeah.
because even like, what was mad about it was, because obviously like the whole world just shut down and we were like, this is
Yeah.
fucking nuts. And I think that like over the course of the year, people started getting more and more angry about things that aren't even necessarily conspiracy theories. They're just like,
Yeah.
excuse me a moment.
Yeah.
And it's like, Sean, tinfoil hat. We were like, what the fuck? But then it was kind of like, I don't know if it's just maybe just Connor and I, like our sort of difference of mental attitude is like, I went, all right, I know this stuff exists, but let's take it easy. Whereas Connor was like, I'm going to prove these fuckers right.
Yeah.
And in many cases he has, and in many cases he hasn't. And we're both just like, well, people still listen to it.
So was it basically like he was actually down the rabbit hole, like holding onto your leg, trying to?
Yeah, I was there. I was there with a rope on his feet. Like, come on back, come on back. So yeah, it's kind of that's it's a hard one to describe because I think there's what's weird about doing it as well is because we do like we record 2 in one day.
Yeah.
But we do it every week. So what tended to happen was like we got a lot of people leaving Patreon, being like they're spreading misinformation, and we're like, no, we're like, no, you listen to this. This is from like June 2020.
Yeah.
So it's like we talk because we're doing it every week. We're talking about stuff as it happens.
Yeah.
And then 3 or 4 weeks later, we're like, oh, that was bullshit. But someone hears the
original
one, and immediately goes, fuck you. We're like, no, hang around. Like you have to almost hang around for the rest of the chat before you leave.
Yeah.
At the same time, don't listen to it.
No, I've been really enjoying it. Like it's one of those things because you'd never really done a podcast yourself before. You've obviously guested on loads of podcasts.
Yeah.
It's the first one you've done yourself.
Yeah, because it was like I tried to do my own solo one at one point.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, and I just hated it because it was just I'm like an attention seeker. I need people to be there laughing at me.
Yeah.
So even when I was doing the solo ones, I was putting them out and being like, that's shit. And weirdly, people were liking it, but I was just like, I hate this. I hate doing it. So what happened was Connor and I were like, at the start of 2020, we were just having a chat, and I was like, because Connor got like he got a Zoom recorder for the place that he works in for like a community sort of project, and I was like, well, let's just you and I sit down for an hour and see if we can talk for an hour.
Yeah, see what happens.
And see if people like it, and people fucking loved it, and then it's just like it's becomes a weird thing where like we don't even sit down and plan out what we're going to do anymore because we've got so used to talking to each other. Like we don't even text during the week anymore.
It's just like catch up.
We just start, and it's really strange because there was a point where we're going, okay, so this week we're talking about this, we're talking about this.
Yeah.
For both of the podcasts, and now we're just like fucking, let's go. But I don't know if that's part of just the fact that like nothing's happening to anybody.
Exactly, yeah.
Because of lockdown. So like you can't be like, oh, I was at the cinema and I went and saw a fucking thing before I went for dinner.
Yeah.
It's just like, what did you drink this week? Gin.
Because if you were even talking during the week, you would literally have nothing to talk about.
Yeah.
By the time it comes around. So there'd be none. Plus you've also got the side that Connor doesn't really do much in terms of social media. I think he's on Instagram, that's about it.
Yeah.
So he doesn't always see some of the stuff.
That's the thing. Yeah, it was also a thing as well. That was like I took a break off social media for about 3 months.
Yeah.
Because I was just sick of going on Facebook and Twitter and seeing people arguing. I was like, I fucking hate this.
That's
like I still haven't. I've actually cancelled Twitter altogether. I'm like, I'm not even going back on it.
I can't get into Twitter at all. I've always tried. I've always seen as like doing comedy and trying to put content out, but Twitter just seems like I don't know.
Well, it's just a cesspit, and it's like I used to always like look at things that got loads of retweets and be like, how did that get so many fucking likes? And you're like, that's not funny.
Yeah.
And then I would try and do the same thing, and I wouldn't get anything. And I was just like, fuck. So I mean, one thing I would say, like, it's like. To anybody, like I've never liked social media because I just think if you've nothing to like try and sell, there's no point having it.
Yeah, I know. If I wasn't like, but obviously whenever gigs are back on, you obviously have to use social media to plug gigs and stuff like that. But I think if I wasn't doing gigs, I would be completely off Facebook.
Yeah, I like one of the things I went back on because the Ulster Hall shows were like to go on sale again, and I just turned the notifications off.
Yeah.
So it's actually kind of bad as well because I'm literally missing out on anything that's happening in the world because all I'm doing is going on Facebook to go, how many people like that joke?
Yeah, that's literally all it is.
I hate it so much.
No, it is awful.
Like, it's so like I think it's good. Like when Connor came off and he was like, you should. He did it first, And he's like, I guarantee you'll sleep better. And sure enough, the first night I came off
Yeah.
Facebook, I was just out like a light because like, you've nothing to look at your phone for,
Yeah.
when you're
Yeah.
lying in bed. That's so it's just like it's brilliant.
I did that for a while during the first lockdown. I actually didn't take myself
Which
off
lockdown are
Facebook.
we on? Is this the first? Are we still in the
Fourth,
first one?
third, I don't know.
I heard a news story about a guy who woke up out of a coma at the start of this year, and I was like, "Fuck!" Like,
Jeez, where do you
imagine me that
start?
quick.
Where do you actually start? But I actually did the thing where I didn't take myself off Facebook, but what I did on my phone, I had like Facebook was one of the first things there. I just took the icon off the home screen.
Yeah,
So whenever I went onto my phone, and I was finding my thumb going like that, and there was nothing there.
yeah,
Because it was just like trying to hit it. I was like, there's nothing there. Because I didn't replace it with anything. I just left a gap.
yeah. I
on
did
the
a weird thing where I purposely moved all the icons around so they weren't beside each other.
right.
So if I wanted to use one, I had to go, "Where the fuck is that?" And then I was like, "Ah."
I just give up instantly.
Yeah.
That's good. So we have a few questions, just the usual ones we do for the podcast. But I've obviously, whenever yeah, because you went off at the start of this and then came back on during it, wasn't it?
So, like social media, you mean, or
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I
I,
ended up like when did I go off it? Maybe about May or June, and then I kind of went back on Instagram about August time, I think.
I know that sounds about right. So, but as I say, I've kind of obviously follow you on Instagram and all the social medias. But my question to you is, for the past year, if there is something, what has kept you sane, if anything?
uh, fuck, I don't know, because it's kind of like I think from doing like my version of sanity was running around the world telling jokes.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? So like my version, like being locked down to me is like, okay, well, this is automatically kind of what normal people are doing, and I'm like, this is nuts. I don't really know. I think like I've been trying to. I mean, the first lockdown between say sort of like like March and about August, maybe July, because remember like the weather was just cracking for
oh yeah,
6 months.
yeah,
I was just fucking hammered, like
yeah.
because my dad was furloughed from work for the first 8 weeks,
Right.
and it was sunny, so we drank together. So we were just in the garden pissed.
That's all the time, man.
Yeah, and I ended up like putting on so much weight, and I think like this time around I've been working out a lot more, so I make a point of like doing at least an hour and a half exercise a day,
Right.
and that's like, and that's not
That's
even that hard. I'm not even. I'm just doing something.
Yeah.
Like just in the garage, or like I'll go out when we skip rope, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna bounce off some calories. Um, so yeah, I think it's just kind of it feels to me like, because I hate lockdown. I don't want to get into that too much. Like
no,
because people go, "Oh, you're a fucking conspiracy theorist." I'm like, no, but
yeah.
to me it feels like I've been reading I've been reading a bunch of books like the Guildford Four and Birmingham Six and stuff like that, and like
Right.
weirdly people who've been wrongfully imprisoned, and I'm like, it seems to be that like the first year's a nightmare, and then they get used to it, they get into like a routine. And I think that's what I've done from about September onwards. Just be like, okay, let's get into a routine of fuck it, nothing's open.
Yeah.
Like,
Just accept
so
it or anything like.
yeah. So just get up in the morning, eat like have a half decent breakfast, do a
Yeah.
workout.
Yeah. I think one of the worst things though was obviously we had like a few months, if even that, of where gigs were coming back and it was almost normal.
Yeah.
So you had like some of your gigs, like there was the Limelight and the Hatfield and there's a couple of others I think that were sort of floating about. The Boneyard.
The Boneyard and the sort of the back garden gigs and stuff like that.
Aye.
It's weirdly one of those things. We're looking back on that now. I'm almost sad that they happened, because it was like giving you a wee taste of, do you remember what you love doing?
Yeah.
And then it's like, no more.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. It was almost worse having it and then having it being ripped from you again.
100%. Because like even my kind of the bit that hit me the most was like when lockdown first kicked in last year. 2020 was going to be my year, Johnny. Like it was all the hard work.
Yeah.
So it was like my whole plan was, I think I was finishing off my tour.
Right.
Sort of like that was going to take me up until like sort of end of March.
Yeah.
Then I had a month of gigs all over the UK, just club gigs.
Yeah.
And in May I was going to Australia for a month, coming back, doing a bunch of gigs in June. Then July, getting ready for the Fringe, going and doing the Fringe in August. Then I was supposed to go back to Australia in September, and then do the Ulster Hall in October. And I was like, that's the year plan. I was just going to take November off. I was like, I'm just going to work like fuck.
Just flat out, and then
flat out, and like because I've never. It was the first year where I've had the diary packed going into the year.
so you're not having to look for, you're not having to, or
Yeah,
you ever look for gigs. You've literally got it all planned
it
out.
was all sorted, and then it was like Connor and I hit record on a podcast at 4 o'clock on like the 16th of March, and at 5 when I hit stop, it was all gone. Like, like everything was like, yeah, it's not happening. It's not happening.
When did you first realize that, like, did someone get in touch with you and say, like, by the way?
Yeah, it was just like that was when I first realized how serious it was, because I don't really watch the news. I'm a big Jeremy Corbyn fan, so whenever the news kept talking shit about it, I was like, I'm just going to turn that off because he's clearly lovely. And yeah, that was, I think, the weekend before lockdown kicked in. Well, in fact, when did lockdown kick in? Because they closed the pubs on the 16th, didn't they?
Yeah, it was like the 23rd of March, because I was furloughed. I've worked about 3 weeks in the last year. I was furloughed like the 23rd of March, I think it was, and that was when everything closed.
Yeah, because the 16th was whenever they closed the bars and theaters.
Because St. Paddy's Day was like no go and all that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what got me. I was like, that's the first thing the Nazis did. On the art. So yeah, that's whenever I kind of went. I think the weekend before that I was doing a gig in Derry, and I like cleared my throat during the gig and went, "Oh, coronavirus!" Like just as a
throwaway sort of
thing. And went into my mate's house, got drunk, and woke up the next day at about 25 tweets from one woman who was like, "Micky Bartlett, when were you in Wuhan?" Like, oh, this mad shit. And then it was this kind of thing of like, she was then tweeting, "Does anybody else think it's a bit it wasn't rude, like just a bit fucking evil, say, that Micky Bartlett is making jokes with being in Wuhan when I need to know for my family."
What?
And then it turns out what happened was Chris Kent, another comedian, was doing a gig down the street and had the cold. And he made a joke about it. So basically, this woman's husband and daughter had gone to see Chris Kent.
Right.
He said he had the cold, made a joke about having coronavirus. They came home, told her, she shit herself, Googled who was playing in Derry, found my name, and then thought it was me. And she's a fucking alternative healer. Like, she's into fucking holistic stuff. And I was like, well, you're fucked either way.
That's mental. So she genuinely thought that you had just come back, or you had just been away.
She genuinely thought I was in China licking bats. And then it was like, there was that. And then I remember, I think on St. Paddy's night, I went around to our friend's house and we were all going, there's no way this is going to last 3 weeks. There's no way.
Yeah. I still have a text on my phone from the work group chat from one of the guys, and he said we'll be back by April. And every now and again, I used to just like quote it and be like, "Remember this?"
Man, 100%. Like that's why, like, yeah, I think I remember like coming home from and making like a big drunken Instagram post of like, "Guys, roll this together," and then immediately just being like, "Fucking," like, yeah. I think as well as that, all year I've been going, "Oh, it's nearly over. It's nearly over." Like. And to the point now where I'm going, it might not be, like,
it might never end.
Yeah, I've had to like reschedule Ulster Hall shows again, and I've got people message me now because I'm supposed to be doing the Ulster Hall next week or the week after, and they're like, "Mate, is this show going ahead?" And I know that they're like, "I've spent money on this," and it sounds like I'm being ungrateful, but part of me wants to go, "Oh yeah, it is, yeah, 1,000 of us," and 100%, me and you.
Just all closed, no masks,
like,
everything. Like,
yeah, just back to normal. Like, I'm like, where have you been? Are you the guy from the coma? That I'm like,
just the one that had a ticket.
Yeah, so it's I don't know. I'm just fucking like,
that's mental. But yeah, you're one of the people who's like, I know obviously people have like for me, I work in the menswear store in Belfast, and obviously I haven't really worked 3 weeks for the last year and all, but like,
yeah.
I've been lucky. I'm not gonna complain about it too much. Like, but people like yourself and like in the arts, like they've completely taken the piss, haven't they?
Man, it's 100%. Like, there's a thing. I fucking hate Tories, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there's a single thing they've ever done that has been good. I've googled it. I've looked.
You've tried.
Have they ever fucking done anything well? Yeah. And the answer is just no.
It's just
like, I'm just like if you Google Tory, the first thing that comes up is Thatcher. You're like, she stole milk off children, the fucking bitch. Like,
and then they did it again.
And it's just like, yeah, it's been like at the minute there's just like I get the self-employment grant, which is fuck all.
Yeah,
but they're at this point where they're going, when you go online to look for it, it goes, "Oh, we'll let you know sometime mid-April, and you'll get paid sometime in May." And you're like, I'm lucky enough. I'm in my parents. I don't really have any bills. I've no kids.
Yeah.
You're going, people need this, and you're constantly just being like, we'll get it to you when we get it to you.
Yeah. Oh, well, there's some people like who like comedians out there who literally do exactly what you do, but have families and mortgages and all that.
Like I've seen a bunch of guys that are like they've lost their flats and stuff. This is mainly in London.
Yeah.
So one guy, Mike Gunn, he'd lost his flat, and when he went looking for somewhere to live, the landlords were like, "Oh, we're not taking anybody in who's in an industry that's currently shut down."
Serious?
Yeah. So you're like, that guy's just going to be homeless.
That's mental. Like it's crazy how it's went like that.
Yeah, and I'm looking for places to rent at the moment, just because if I don't, I'm going to choke my mother. And even that, you're looking and you're being like, how, in the name of fuck, can anybody charge this amount of money to live in a shithole during this?
Yeah,
like,
I know. Some of the prices are just ridiculous. It depends where you're looking. Like I suppose you're probably looking closer to Belfast, or you're looking more.
Well, I've been looking just around Lurgan because because we do the podcast in Oma, I'm like, well, it's close to Oma, it's close to Belfast, it's close to,
sort of halfway between everything. Yeah. And I suppose you're doing more podcasts than gigs these days. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, that's kind of where I've been looking. But even I did sort of look at Belfast, and there was like, I saw a thing in Belfast where it was like 1,400 quid a month. You're like, if somebody has £1,400 to pay rent, they have money to buy a house. Like,
exactly. Why would you bother? Just wait 6 months and pay them.
Yeah, like it's fucking insane. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of, I think the way that the people working on the arts and entertainment and hospitality have just been fucking treated like absolute shit.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody hasn't been treated like shit.
But but more so than anything.
But more so, yeah. And I think like it's one of the things that kind of makes me sad about the whole thing is like everybody's fucked.
Oh yeah, we're all
absolutely fucked. And all we can do is go, oh, well, he's been furloughed. Well, you don't know how bad it is for me. You're like, turn your fucking social media off and go out and rat.
Like, Mickey, I'm living up in Carrickfergus at the minute. It's literally...
Oh shit, right enough. How's it going?
It's fine where we are. Like I've over the second, third, fourth, whatever lockdown, I moved in with a girlfriend, and thankfully we're okay. We're in a secure apartment block, but it's not far from here.
Yeah, fucking
hell. You hear the helicopters going over all the time.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised because there was a lot of police around Lurgan a few days ago. I was really surprised nothing happened here. I'm like, oh, look at us not being the arsehole of Northern Ireland.
And it's just, I still kind of, I can't stop watching that video of your boy setting himself on fire. Like it's just.
Well, I've seen two different versions. I've seen one where a guy's feet catch on fire, and then one where like one guy just seems to run into the path of a petrol bomb.
Yeah, is that the one where like his head's on fire?
Yeah, and he's full blown like Home Alone. Like, yeah, it's crazy.
It's absolutely mental, and they're obviously just they're not qualified. That wouldn't happen back in the day. Like,
exactly, man. Do you know what I mean? That's I was saying on our podcast. Like, at least back in the day, they would give you a plastic bottle and train you. You know what I mean? Okay, throw it right now. Go get it right now. Don't light it this time. Throw it. Go get it. Okay, good man. There you go, Queen. Here we go. Light it. Like,
so you gotta take the stabilizers off first, like.
Yeah, it is that old sort of running joke that anybody that grew up at any point during the Troubles looks at any rat in the world anywhere and goes, I don't know now.
It's not how I would have done it. Like. Oh, jeez. Okay, so we'll move on to the next segment, which is quite an easy question for most people nowadays, and I just need 3 things, and we'll talk through them. I've kind of just ripped this off from an old TV show. So, what is the first thing that drives you insane?
At the minute,
yeah,
like it's my mother.
Okay, mother. I'm making a list of these, and then I'll pick one that you can actually get. I was going to say pick one that you can get rid of, but we're not taking out. We're not taking out your mum.
No, feel free.
Sorry,
is like, so she's obsessed with just testing the doorbell.
Right.
So 3 or 4 times a day, she'll go out to the car, and she's bought this door. Like, it's one of these ones where you can change the tune on it.
Right. Okay.
So she's like, you'll just hear ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, and you go to the door, and she's like, "Oh, I was just making sure it works." And I'm like, "Right, stop doing it," because I'm trying to have a wank. I think someone's coming to the door, so I'm going down to check, and I'm like, I don't know why you're testing, because you've no mates, so nobody's calling around to see you to use it anyway. I don't even know why you have the fucking doorbell in the first place. Just leave it be.
Plus, by the time she's probably doing it that much herself. By the time someone goes to use it, it'll be done.
But 100%, I am like, Hermes are bound to have got a bunch of stuff I paid for online. They'd be like, "There's nobody in. There was 3 cars in the driveway. There's nobody in." Like, you're supposed to be locked down. Where are you people?
Is it like whenever you get a delivery that they don't press the doorbell, your mum just goes out and presses it?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's got to the point now where I am like, I've got my ears attuned to cars pulling into the driveway,
Right, okay.
so I don't hear the doorbell now. I just hear like I hear a car door closing, going, "It's here."
Yeah. Plus, do you have the Amazon thing on the app where it literally tells you where the car is?
Yeah. Although I only realized it a few days ago because
Yeah.
that's another thing that I've been doing all year is just like seeing stuff when I'm pissed and being like, "Oh yeah, I want like this
Alright.
T-shirt." I bought a Captain America T-shirt. I'm fucking 34. I'm like, I'm gonna buy that.
I'll take that.
Add to basket. Like,
It's too easy. It's far too
man,
easy. But
I was thinking about like just getting all the stuff that I bought online and having it in one room just to go, "Oh, you like I bought rollerblades."
oh yeah, before you did
Like,
use them, but
yeah, like me and a few of my mates went to like a roller rink.
so that's the bit that I'm using. That's
It's like Andy McGibbon, who's in the Bonnevilles, which is like
yeah, great
one
band.
of Northern Ireland's best bands. And I'm like, we're skating around a roller rink on a Friday night. Like, is this what we signed up for?
That's
Like,
fantastic. That
we're
is.
supposed to be in a sweaty room, being like, "Fuck the government, die!"
Yous are gone.
Like,
That's fantastic. I almost went down now. I bought a ukulele at the start of it.
yeah, I've got a guitar sitting in my bedroom as well.
I've no. Apparently, you had to get a screwdriver to like tune it, and the screwdriver was downstairs, so I haven't done it yet. It looks great. It's so nice. It cost me like 30 or 40 quid or something,
Yeah.
which I thought was a bargain. Like, but no idea how to play it.
I got a guitar. I was like, I remember someone telling me like, "Oh, it's really easy. You just learn to play guitar online." And I've
Yeah.
been watching these tutorial videos, and I'm like, none of this makes any fucking sense. Like, what are you telling me to do?
Yeah, plus anytime, so I tried to do the first tutorial, which was literally like the chords, and anytime I went like that and listened to it, it's like, that doesn't sound like that.
Well, no, I got to a point where I was like, and I think this is kind of, I was thinking about this recently as well. Do you know that sort of saying, if you show me the boy at like 8, I'll show you the man at 30?
Yeah.
I remember being told when I was about 8 or 9 that I had like an adult reading age.
Right,
Because in
okay.
primary school, you were like, you have a fucking fully adult. And I immediately went, "I'm a genius, don't need to try." And I have not worked hard at all in my fucking life.
It's like I'm done, I've peaked.
Yeah. So like the guitar, I was like learning and I could play the first like 3 sort of bars, not bars. I don't even know if they're bars or notes or fucking whatever.
Chords.
Yeah, but it's no, it's only 2 chords. But I can play the first
Okay.
couple of like bits of like one Nirvana song, and I immediately just went, "Oh, I'm brilliant at this now. Fuck it." Like,
I think I did that because I tried to play guitar years ago and bought like an electric guitar, and I think I managed to learn how to play like the first 4 seconds of "Smells Like Teen Spirit," and I was like,
yeah,
"That's it."
man. I was working on that at one point because what was happening was I was getting to like I could play the first couple of bits of one song, get to like a really hard bit, and the guy in the video would be like, "So this is a C chord overcast J," and I'm like, "What?" So then like you're trying to like really simplify your searches, like how to play acoustic guitar with one thumb. Like there's bound to be somebody that can do it with one hand, and I have 2 hands. Like I'm bound to be at least as good as that guy. Yeah, I should just throw it out, but it looks really cool where it's sitting.
I know exactly. That's what it is. It's more for the aesthetic than anything.
Yeah, just get to bring some bitches around and be like, "This is my guitar. Play me a song, not now, baby."
No, in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, have you been vaccinated?
Okay, so the first one that drives you insane is your mother.
Yeah.
What's the second one?
My father.
Is that what you want to go for?
No, I'm trying to think. What would be the second that just be fucking insane?
Can it be significant or insignificant? Or
Something that has always bugged me is just queuing for stuff.
just cute with that? Must really drive you insane for the past year.
There's like I shop in there's a Tesco's about 8 minutes from here, and there's a Sainsbury's 20 minutes from here, and I use the Sainsbury's because there's never a queue. Like,
oh, well, that makes sense.
I hate it. I've never in my life been like, if I walk into even in the before times, if I walk into a bar and the bar was busy, I'd be like, "I'm going somewhere else. This is
Yeah.
a fucking waste of time." But it to the point where I think if the world shut down and they were giving out free fresh water and I had to queue for it, I'd be like, I'll just die. I'll just die.
I'm done. Like I can't even.
Yeah. I can't like do it if you like when your phone, because there was a point where like I swear to God, I almost fucking choked this guy. Like I felt so bad. Whenever things started to ease up back in the summer last year,
Yeah.
I went to my local Nando's, and I didn't realize they'd like changed the rules because of COVID, so I just went to the place, and there was nobody there. So I just walked in expecting to be like, do the usual. You've been to Nando's before, and you're like, clearly. There was literally nobody there, and the guy was like, "Are you in the queue?" And I was like, I think I am the queue. And he was like, "No, the virtual queue." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "You have to go outside, scan a QR code to join the virtual queue, and then we'll tell you when to come and queue up." And I was like, "But mate, I'm here now."
You're the only person in the queue.
Yeah, I'm like, so you're telling me I have to go out to my car and queue up on my fucking phone and then queue up? And I was like, I'm just going to go to KFC. Fuck it.
That's mental. That's insane.
I think there's a thing that annoys me. I don't want to get too political, but there's certain things where I'm like, we should definitely be more angry about this. The fact that guy was just like, I'm like, man, you should be raging. Like, should you not be like fucking?
It's the same thing. I remember going to a bar one night. It wasn't that busy. It was the same sort of thing. And I was like, can I just get a couple of pints? And they said, oh, there you have to, as you say, scan the QR code outside and then we'll bring it to you. And it's like, well, we're both standing here. If I tell you what I want, can you not just bring it? Because they had to bring it back for me to then use my card to pay for it.
Man, there was a day where we were in Belfast, and again, this was maybe August time or something. And we just went, I wonder if we can just go out without booking a table. Like, can we just go somewhere? And it was like all the beer gardens were open. You could just get in the beer gardens. You could find a seat. You were good. And we went to some bar, and we had a couple of drinks. So I was like, listen, guys, we'll be fine. I'm Micky Bartlett, like national treasure. Yeah,
of course. And
he walked up to this bouncer, and this guy was like, oh, there he is. And I'm looking at my mates like, told you. And I was like, maybe we're just in for a couple of pints. And he goes, what did he say? He was like, obviously, he was like, the smoking area is rammed. But he goes, if you want to come in for a pint, you have to order food.
Right.
And he goes, so just pretend you're ordering chicken wings and I'll sort you out a couple of pints. And I was like, cool. And he was like, wait there. And then he went over to the bar, was chatting to someone, came back, and he went, oh, but sorry, the kitchen's closed. And I was like, well, we're only pretending to order the wings.
You weren't even going to bring them?
Yeah, so I was like, so just pretend it's open. Like,
what was he going to do? Go into the kitchen and be like, want some wings?
Yeah, I know. Then I don't know if we had to mime it, like,
Just go around.
Yeah,
that's mental.
Yeah, and that was another queuing situation. Like,
or it's just ridiculous. No, I totally agree with that one, because the thing about the start of this as well, whenever you had to like queue outside Tesco, it was nice because it was nice weather. But I remember thinking, if this is going to happen in the crap weather, no way am I doing this.
Well, that was the thing. That was the thing that really bugged me. There's a shop near us that has like a maximum amount of people it allows in.
Yeah,
and I was like, is nobody like surely queuing up outside in the fucking wind and rain? Like, so you don't catch a coronavirus.
But
do you know what I mean? Like,
put you outside shivering.
So you'll get pneumonia, but at least you don't get, like, I don't know.
End up getting everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez. Okay, what's number 3? Final one.
Number 3, just on kind of on the sort of same topic, is actual COVID rules.
COVID rules, okay.
Because they do not make any fucking sense, right? This is a true story that I may get in trouble for, right?
Okay.
So I was doing this thing sort of, again, from about August, when things started opening up a wee bit. I was like, once or twice a month was going to a hotel just to try and write stuff for the podcast, or just trying to get out of the house.
Yeah.
So I would go and like fucking, it's technically for work, right?
Yeah.
I'm technically working. But I would go and get like a bottle of wine or something and be like, I'm just going to fucking have a bath and then write some jokes and whatever else. Like, shave my head, make a stupid video. And so about like there's a place in Belfast that it's like a self-catering apartment.
Right.
So I was staying there like maybe, I don't know, 2 months ago, and like in my pajamas, right? Glass of wine. Like, I'm everyone. And the door of the room knocked out the door, and it was like 2 policemen. So by the way, this hotel I stayed in, it was like they send the key to your phone.
Okay.
So you literally don't talk to anybody. Like, you open the front door with your phone, you open the room with your phone. It's very COVID safe, all sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And the police were like, "Are you Michael Bartlett?" And I was like, "Obviously." Don't act like you don't know me, motherfucker. And he was like, we're just checking the hotel. We're wondering like what you're doing here. And I was like, oh well, I'm a comedian podcaster kind of thing. Live with my parents, but I needed to get out of the house, so
yeah,
just get a bit of work. Yeah, just get a bit of work done. And he was like, well, the hotels, it's reserved for people who really need the accommodation and for work. And I was like, right, okay. It's like, it's kind of illegal that you're here. And I was like, but I'm here. Like, how did I get here? If this is so illegal, how the fuck did I pay for it, walk in, and I'm here in my pajamas? And he was like, well, it's reserved for like people who need accommodation, like homeless people. And I was like, if a homeless person has 90 quid to spend on this room, I doubt.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And then it was like, he was like, because you could be spreading COVID. And I was like, again, I haven't talked to anybody. If I get COVID, you give me it. And the police, God love me, he was really nice. He was like, I know, and I was trying to be nice. I'm like, you're just doing your job and everything else.
Yeah.
And he goes, listen, we're going to have to go and like double check with our superiors whether or not this is an actual offense. But we just had to come around. So I'm like, that's cool, that's grand. So the left, and I was sitting there thinking, well, that must be it over. Like,
yeah.
And then at midnight they came back.
What state were you in?
My teeth are black from wine. Like, and the cop was like, okay, so we've talked to like our desk sergeant or whatever, and unfortunately we're going to have to give you a fine for breaching the COVID rules. And again, I was just like, listen, fair enough, whatever. Like, give me it, it'll be fine. And he went, and also you're going to have to leave the hotel. And I was like, excuse me? And he was like, yeah, you have to leave the hotel now. And I went, but I'm drunk. Like, how am I going to get home? He's like, listen, that's just the rules. You're not allowed to stay here. Therefore, you had to leave the hotel. And I went, so if you're telling me I have to leave this hotel, that now means I don't have any accommodation and therefore qualify for staying in this hotel. And the guy went, fuck.
That's insane.
And like they gave me the fine. And I remember like I talked to a friend of mine who's a solicitor, and she was like, you should appeal that. But I was like, listen, I'm going to re-offend. I'd rather just pay it.
Maybe not get caught next time.
Yeah, and we get caught next time. We're like, well, I'll pay.
Yeah, that's crazy. But as you say, it's everything that you did. It's not like you it was like a wee sneaky one. You actually just booked it and stayed there.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, and it was just like it was to work. It's just that my job that isn't deemed work. I suppose it's kind of understandable. I'm just drawing dicks on a page and going, is that funny?
Oh jeez, that's brilliant.
It's just they're just so confusing. Like I was in another place actually doing legit work, and they gave us out like 2-meter distance alarms.
Right.
So
okay.
if you get within 2 meters of someone else, it goes like bah, bah, bah. And I was like, it's been a year. I think we know this one.
Yeah, you can, like, you can pretty much guess. Like
yeah. And then it was like at the end of the day, we all had to like give the alarms back and put them back in these sort of like charging
ports.
Ports, yeah. And nobody could get them in. And I was like, all these things are going off, and I'm like, we're all closer because of these fucking things.
It's encouraging it.
Do you know what I mean? We're literally side by side trying to fucking get these things in. We're touching shit. No one knows who's breathed on it. And like I'm like, this is definitely more dangerous than just being like that's far enough.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
nah, it's mental. And some of the rules have, but you are just kind of thinking, who's thought of this, and how is it benefiting anyone?
But there's times where like I remember way back at the start as well. I was driving to like do the podcast, and the police pulled. Well, they didn't pull me over; they were just stopping. And the guy was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm a comedian doing a podcast." Yeah. And he's like, "Can you do it on Zoom?" And I was like, "Nah, my computer's kind of shit." And like because we had a good sound recorder, it was like we have all this other gear, or whatever.
Yeah.
And the guy went, "Well, you're supposed to be like isolating," and I went, "Well, technically, I was until you came over."
That's the closest you've been to anyone.
I mean, like, it's one of those situations where it's like I couldn't believe he didn't hit me. I've just been lucky enough that like the police I've like, I've dealt with have been like, oh, I know.
That's great. That's great. So out of those three, it's a pretty good list. I'm gonna save your mother.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna save your mother. Kuhn. It's been a bit of a nightmare, but Kuhn's one of those things I don't think you're ever gonna be able to completely avoid.
Yeah.
Especially for the next while. So we'll bend COVID rules because I think a lot of them have been absolutely pointless. I remember as well watching you at that Hatfield gig with the plastic screen. That was just must have been one of the weirdest gigs you've ever done.
It was so strange whenever like it wasn't too bad when the audience got there, but when I first landed down to the room, I was like, can we please get rid of that?
Yeah.
And they were like, look, it's just the rules, we have to. There was no audience. All I could see was my own reflection.
So you're just doing it to you.
Yeah, but it was like you could see your reflection and like through into the room. So it was like
Right.
watching yourself as a ghost. You were this translucent, like
That's weird. That's so weird.
it was. It's mental. Saying that's been what? How long has that been? 6 months, 7 months, 8 months.
It's a good
And
while
I would give my left ball to do
Oh.
any type of stand up at this point. Like,
Would you do it in just in a plastic in a box?
but I would do it in a Zorb bubble. Like if it got to the point they were like the only way for you to do stand up is to walk on stage with the dildo hanging out of your asshole that has been COVID safe, I'd be like, I'll do it, no problem.
I'm on. Give me it.
Yeah. I'm like, I'll lick somebody with COVID.
I'll bring the lube myself.
Yeah. Sort of like,
Oh jeez, that's mental. Okay, so we'll wrap it up in a few minutes, but one more question. I'm trying to theme the podcast around mental health a little bit. So we'll not get too deep, but in terms of comedy, performing, writing, how would you say it affects your mental health? Like, is it in a positive way?
yeah, I think it's always a weird thing for me. I think like any comedian could probably qualify, on paper for a multitude of mental health disorders.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like the fact that you've at some point in your life gone, I'm going to walk into a room full of strangers and make them love me. Like,
insane.
Yeah, Freud would be like, oh, you must have didn't breastfeed you enough. Or like, So I think there's like, it's for me, stand-up's kind of like I love doing it.
Yeah.
And it's I kind of work just on that. I don't know how to explain it. It's like it's such a thrill for me to actually perform, and when something doesn't work, I find it funny. Like when it comes to new material, and when new material does work, I'm like, this is fucking. There's nothing like it. It's better than anything.
That has no better feeling.
Yeah, and I think it's like, I mean, there obviously are downsides to it. You're on your own a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times where I'm kind of on the road. You're like, fucking, I've drank quite a bit or not eating right, and it's just one of those. It's like anything. If you just manage it right,
yeah,
it tends to be the best job in the world. And on top of that, it's a coping mechanism, because I think for most people, when something pisses them off, they have to either argue with someone or just keep it in.
Yeah.
Whereas we get to do like the sneaky third option, which is just remember the argument and tell people what you should have said.
Yeah.
That's for money.
Yeah. I know it's such a. I think, as you said, it's such a release. It's one of those things. Is it something you ever struggled with at the start? Like, if you had a bad gig, would you beat yourself up over it?
Yeah, I think I was kind of weirdly my first really bad gig was the worst one I've ever had.
No, that's good in a way. Isn't it?
Yeah, so it was like I had a horrible gig when I was about 19. I started stand up at 3 different times.
Right.
So I had this really horrible gig when I was about 19, and what had happened was the MC had got changed. I tell the story all the time, I was bombing like so bad, and he had gotten changed like a red leather catsuit and a blonde wig because he was going to do a Britney Spears sketch after me.
Oh no!
And he literally just took the microphone out of my hand. And as I walked away, I remember like just walking through, and it was just the sound of my own feet. Like I did so bad, he didn't even start his bit, and he was a bit of a dick as well.
Yeah,
he kind of made a point of being like, everyone look at him, like
make him feel bad. Like.
Yeah, so I could just hear my own feet and people being like, "What the fuck was that?" And then the door closed behind me, and I just hear bow, 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 and then everyone went nuts. And I was like, I remember lying in my bed, like just wide awake, just all night, going, "Fuck! I came to uni to become a stand-up, and I can't do it." And then, but then after that, it meant that any gig that I had whenever I started a couple of years later, nothing phased you. Nothing phased it.
Yeah.
I've done gigs that have gone so badly, other comedians have gone, "Fuck, are you okay?" And I've been howling.
I think it's that change in mindset, which is one of the things, because I'm only just really starting to get back into the past 2 years, the past year collectively, if you really think about it.
Yeah.
The amount of gigs that have happened. But and that was one of the reasons why I stopped. And I've talked about it with the guys in the podcast before, but one of the reasons why I stopped was I was just struggling to get over bad gigs, and I was terrible back whenever I stopped.
Everybody is, man.
And that's the thing, and it's something that I didn't know at the time. And if someone said to me, you will be terrible for maybe a few years.
Yeah, I remember like the first time I had like a breakthrough of, oh fuck, that's a really, really good bit.
Mm.
And I've been doing stand-up for about 18 months.
Yeah.
And pretty regularly. Like I've been doing it, like yeah, it's a mad thing because I don't know how to sort of I think it's one of the things with lockdown is that I'd gotten to the point at the start of last year where I could just go on stage and be great because I was just so well practiced.
Oh yeah.
I was getting like flat out. I think from Edinburgh last year, or 2019, right through to March, I was just every night of not every night of the week, but most nights.
But it was there was not a week where you weren't doing a few gigs.
Yeah. So it hit that point where like I wasn't even writing jokes down. I was just going on and being like, "Is this
You've had a thought. Let's just try it out.
Let's just try it out."
Yeah.
So like I wonder what's going to happen whenever things go back when I'm back to like fuck. Okay, I have no material.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And it's hard. Like in terms of the show that you have coming up, which is your next one. Like when did you start writing that?
I suppose pretty much September 2019. So the way I sort of work it is once the Fringe is over, I'm like, well, that because I suppose I hadn't really toured like Northern Ireland in a while, so that was like 2019-20 was the first time I was like, okay, let's take this on the road.
Yeah,
I'd done the Ulster Hall and stuff.
Yeah,
but I had essentially it's like once it's written, you're running through the Edinburgh Fringe. But so anything you write, once that hour's done, anything else you write, you're like, well, that's the next one, that's the next one.
Yeah.
And you kind of try and put it all together. It's so, I mean, there's definitely bits that I had that I was planning to do that won't even make sense by the time September comes around.
Yeah, that's what's one of the reasons why, because I always write better whenever I know I've got a gig coming up, so it'll be easier to generate material.
Yeah, because if you're writing without gigs, you're just writing in a vacuum. And I know a lot of people, friends of mine are, and I don't know if they're telling the truth. They're like, oh yeah, I've been writing flat out. Once we come back, I'm ready to go. And I'm like, is this like you fuckers that were like, oh, I've been studying all year, like
I'm ready.
all over the summer. I didn't even take a summer holiday. I just studied all like.
Yeah.
So I kind of hope that's what the situation is because I have not been writing at all. Like, like I've got notes on my phone, things like that.
I wrote one sort of new joke that I was proud of, and then I had Jordan Robinson on the podcast, and he told me it was an Ian Thompson joke.
Ah, no way, man.
I was raging about that.
There's nothing worse. There's absolutely nothing worse. I had because I had a couple of bits where I was like, I had one. I started keeping notes on my phone again, and I was like, I just had this weird note. And again, this is like from not having done stand up. I don't know if it's funny,
right?
But like I've got things like I want to wear a bra once because taking one off looks brilliant.
just for like, that, just for that release.
Yeah, it's at a point now where I'm going. I don't know if these are notes for jokes or like if somebody finds this, they're going to go, "Was this the killer from Seven?"
Yeah, yeah, I'm the same because I do the same thing as you. I have notes on my phone, but there's some of them that don't make any sense whatsoever. This was at the start of the last lockdown. I've never done this at stage. It just says I've watched that much porn. I found myself going into incognito mode to check the weather.
I've got a thing here where I'm like, I don't even know if this is a good observation. Like, why do religion teachers always look like they're tired from pretending to be happy? Because all the RE teachers in my school had this smile.
It's just there's something not quite.
Yeah, it's like the went. Oh my god, I read the whole thing, and it says like gay people are allowed.
Right. I'm gonna leave it there because I'm not gonna try and out joke Micky Bartlett. So.
Man, listen, I've got a hangover and I haven't done stand up in a year. You'll probably win.
Oh dear. Just to wrap it up though, in terms of the future, do you have any particular goals or dreams or what? How do you see the future?
At this point, for me, it's just trying to get back into stand up full time.
Yeah.
Like I've got the Ulster Hall shows have been rescheduled until September this year, but I'm doing a third night. So at the minute, I'm like, I hope that happens, and then I can take some money and walk into a bank and be like, I'll have a house in Medium, please. So yeah, that's kind of it's just trying to get back to sort of gigging and lose another stone.
Yeah. No, you're doing well. Like I seen you whenever you were on the Blame game, like you were looking sharp.
And that was just like I bought that green jacket when I was drunk and I haven't got wearing it. I turned up the girls like, you have like a selection of costumes. I've got an IRA denim jacket and I'm wearing it.
This is my costume and that's fine.
Yeah, that's all I have. All I have. And it doesn't fit me. I'm like, like I'm stable into the fucking thing. I was like, I'm wearing it. I don't care.
Maybe that's why you look good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Well, thanks very much for coming, Mickey. That's been an absolute pleasure, and I really enjoyed that. So we'll do the awkward like goodbye on the podcast, and then I'll actually say goodbye.
That'd be nice.
But thanks very much. All the best.
Anytime. Cheers.